Hello everyone, hearty greetings of the day to all of y'all. Hope you all are doing well in your own houses. Today we would be starting with subject science of standard 9. Till 8th standard y'all had one single textbook of science, but from standard 9, even though y'all have one textbook, science is partitioned into two parts, that is science part 1 and science part 2. Chapters under physics and chemistry comes under science part 1, whereas chapters under biology, EVS and other parts of technology are touched upon by science 2. Now the reason for bifurcating science into science 1 and science 2 is clear, that both the papers will be conducted on separate day. It is just for the purpose of evaluation, for the purpose of examination. Otherwise, while studying science, you all make sure that you all try to coordinate and connect between the different topics. That will help you all to learn and experience science in a much better way. Today, we would be starting with chapter number 6, which is the first chapter of Science 2. Okay, before going to the chapter, you all must be aware about the term wise planning of science subject standard 9. It is given on the second last page of your textbook. In it, it is bifurcated that total in your subject science there are 18 chapters. In 18 chapters, chapter number 1 to 5 are under science 1, chapter number 6 to 10 are under science 2, then 11 to 14 again under science 1, and 15 to 18 again under science 2. Chapter number 1 to 5 will be asked in first semester. 6 to 10 for science 2 will be in first semester. Chapter number 11 to 14 will be second semester science 1, and 15 to 18 will be second semester science 2. So according to our portion, the first chapter in science 2 is chapter number 6. That is what we are going to start today. This is a chapter of biology. The name of this chapter, as you all are much more guessed it from the screen itself, it is something related to plants. Yes, the name of the chapter is Classification of Plants, Standard 9th, Science 2, chapter number 6. Now we'll be taking this chapter in two parts. This is the first lecture of this chapter. In this module, we would be learning certain topics about introduction. We would be learning the basis of classification in kingdom Plantae, and we would be studying about the first subkingdom cryptogams today. The second subkingdom phanerogams will be covered in the later modules. So let's get started. Okay. Now the chapter starts with a question that says, can you recall? It is something that you all have studied in your previous standards. How have living organisms been classified? Now, first of all, understand what is the purpose of classification. Imagine, rather don't imagine, in reality also, we all have a cupboard in our house, and our cupboard contain various shelves in which we arrange clothes in a systematic manner. If we arrange the clothes in a haphazard manner, we'll just pile it up in a random way and we'll put it like a big ball of clothes inside our cupboard. So while finding out the required clothes, it will be a great difficulty. You will have to remove all the clothes, then you will have to segregate them, and then you will have to search it. It will take a lot of time. Whereas if you properly iron the clothes and keep them properly in a column in the shelves of the cupboard at a required place, whenever you all require your clothes, you can straight away open the cupboard, go to that shelf, go to that particular slot, and you all can pick up your clothes. That makes the work more easier. Same is the case here also. Now there, what you all have done basically, you all have classified the clothes into different shelves, different slots, and it was easier for you all to find out which cloth or from where you exactly have to pick up your clothes. Yes or no? Same is the case with living organisms. When human being had discovered one or two living organisms, it was easier to study those. But as and how the number of living organisms discovered became more in number, humans, for the purpose of study, found it difficult to learn each and every living organism in detail. So what they did, they classified the living organisms according to certain pattern, and after classification, the organism you have to study will be found out much more conveniently, and you all will know about its properties in a much simpler way, because classification, as I have said in the earlier example, it makes your work more simple. So that is why living organisms were classified into various groups. Now today we would be learning the classification of living organisms uh, according to Dr. Robert Whittaker in five kingdom classification. Now, what is five kingdom classification? Look here. Living organisms are first classified on the basis of their cell type. Cell are mainly of two types. One is the prokaryotic cell and second is the eukaryotic cell. Prokaryotic cell are cells which have a weak nucleus. Remember, the word karyote here indicates nucleus. Prokaryotic is a weak undeveloped nucleus which generally do not contain DNA. It has RNA and it does not contain, its nucleus is generally in the form of a nucleolus. It does not have a very well developed nucleus. Second is eukaryotic, which has a proper developed nucleus, which contains a nucleolus, which contains DNA, RNA, and all the essentials that are necessary in the formation of a well developed nucleus. Now, as the nucleus of prokaryotic living organisms is not well developed, all these type of organisms are unicellular in nature and are classified under kingdom Monera. Kingdom Monera is the first kingdom under classification. Next is eukaryotic organism. As they have a well developed nucleus, they can either be unicellular organisms or multicellular organisms. The eukaryotic unicellular organisms are classified under kingdom Protista. This is the second kingdom that we have learned. Now, in multicellular organisms, different types of cells exist. Not all cells have all the cell organelles in them. So, we have classified the multicellular animals into two types, that is, multicellular animals whose cell contains cell wall and multicellular animals whose cell does not contain a cell wall, or those are without cell wall. The cells without cell walls are classified under kingdom Animalia. Kingdom Animalia is the kingdom of animals. The multicellular organisms which had cell wall are classified as autotrophs and heterotrophs depending upon their mode of nutrition, whether how they consume food. The organisms which prepare their food in their own body itself with the help of various natural biotic and abiotic components are called as autotrophs. Autotrophs having cell walls are classified under kingdom Plantae, and those organisms who are dependent upon autotrophs for their food, means those who are not independent in terms of food, are classified under mode of nutrition heterotroph and are classified under kingdom Fungi. So total how many kingdoms did we learn? We learned five kingdoms: Monera, Protista, Animalia, Plantae and Fungi. Now in our chapter, we would be only dealing about kingdom Plantae. We'll be dealing about plants in a much greater depth. In 10th standard, we'll be dealing with a chapter on animals. There you all will be learning about kingdom Animalia. Now this particular classification of living organisms was given to us by Dr. Robert Whittaker. This system is called as Five Kingdom Classification System, which was proposed by Dr. R.H. Whittaker, that is Robert Whittaker, in 1969, which made the study of living organisms much simpler. Okay, so let's move ahead. Now, there is a question for you all. Can you tell? What are the special cell organelles that differentiate a plant cell from an animal cell? So for this, I am displaying the picture of both the cells to you all. This is a plant cell and this is a animal cell. Now the organs which are exclusively marked with green color are present in plant cell, like chloroplast, cell wall. They are only present in plant cell, but they are absent in animal cells. Whereas the organs marked with red color, that is only one organelle, that is centriole, that comes under animal cell but is absent in plant cell. Rest all the organisms are present in both animal cell and plant cell. So these are the special organelles that differentiate a plant cell from an animal cell. Okay, observe this diagram carefully. These shows both the cells, that is plant cell and animal cell. Let us move ahead now. Now, how will we define kingdom Plantae? So, kingdom Plantae is defined as the group of autotrophic living organisms which have eukaryotic cell with cell wall is the group of plants. So plants are autotrophic, that means they prepare their food in their own body with the help of a process called as photosynthesis. In the process of photosynthesis, the plant prepares its food with the help of sunlight, chlorophyll A. Chlorophyll A is basically a pigment, and in general term chlorophyll, you all can remember is that it has chlorophyll itself, that's not an issue. Water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so they prepare their food in their own bodies, so hence they are autotrophic. They have eukaryotic cell, a well-developed cell. They also contain cell wall, and hence they are classified under kingdom Plantae. Plants have become autotrophic because they can perform photosynthesis with the help of chlorophyll, which I explained earlier. Living organisms which are classified under kingdom Plantae prove to be a main source of food for other kingdoms, whether it be kingdom Animalia or kingdom Fungi. Plants prove to be a food for these kingdoms. Now imagine human beings are classified under kingdom Animalia. Cow, buffalo, monkeys, all the possibly known animals come under kingdom Animalia. All of us are dependent upon plants for food. Yes or no? Like we have various fruits and vegetables, all of them grow on plants. So hence we can conclude that plant proves to be a source of food for other living organisms. Because they are autotrophs, they prove as a source of food for other living organisms who are dependent on food on something else. Now let us study what are the basis of classification under kingdom Plantae. Now in inside kingdom Plantae also, plants are distributed and divided into various categories. Now, which criteria were considered for classification of plants? Let us see them. Now, plants are classified in two main ways. One is the basic classification and second is the advanced classification. In basic classification, we classify plants on the basis of following characters. The first is presence or absence of organs. Whether that plant contains all the plant organelles or not is the first criteria for classification of plants. Presence and absence of separate conducting tissues. Now, conducting tissues are nothing but they are tubules and vessels present in a plant which helps to conduct food and water inside the plant. They are types of specialized complex tissues. Now, they are not present in every kind of plant. Generally, in very small or unicellular types of plants, there is no room for occupation of separate conducting tissues. So, that is why presence or absence of separate conducting tissue is another criteria for classification of plants at a basic level. Now, what are conducting tissues in plants? So, conducting tissues in plants are mainly xylem and phloem. This is the picture of xylem and this is the picture of phloem. In xylem, conducts water inside the plant and phloem conducts food. Just like blood transports nutrients in our body, in plant body, xylem and phloem are the conducting tissues which transfer water and food grain to all the parts of the body as and when required. Now, some plants bear seeds, some plants do not bear seeds. That is another basis for classification. And if the plants do not bear, if the plants do bear seeds, then their seeds have a natural covering, that is, they are enclosed in a fruit, or they are open, bare. That is another criteria for classification of plants at a basic level. Now, if the seed is enclosed in a fruit, what are the number of cotyledons present in the seed is also one of the criteria for classification of plants. Now, what are cotyledons? Cotyledons are basically naturally developed compartments inside the seed. It is basically a part of the seed which contains embryo and stored food. Okay. Now, at a higher level, there are various criteria for classification. One of them is presence or absence of flower, fruit and seed, whether a plant has flowers, fruits, seeds, etc. or not, whether those seeds are enclosed in a fruit or not, and how many number of cotyledons are present in that particular uh, plant seed. Now, see, if flower is present in a plant or not, plants are classified under two types. That is, just a minute, cryptogams, and second is, it's not visible here, I'll write it above. Second is phanerogams. Now, in phanerogams, whether the seed is enclosed in a fruit or it is barely located upon the plants, the plants are classified into two categories. One is gymnosperms and second is angiosperms. I'll write using another ink so that it becomes more visible to you all. Okay. Depending upon how many cotyledons are present in a seed, angiosperms can be further classified into monocots and dicots. Now these are basically cotyledon. Like some seeds can naturally be divided into two parts, into two compartments. Each of them contains an embryo and certain amount of stored food in the remaining gap. Example of these is any kind of beans, pulses, etc. Okay, and example of monocot seed here which I am giving is maize. Maize is generally called as makka in vernacular languages, and it contains a monocot seed. Okay, so these are the basis of classification of plants on a further level. Now we move to some important scientists who have contributed in development of kingdom planting. Introduction to scientists. First is Robert H. Whittaker, who gave us the five kingdom classification. And second, I want you all to know is Mr. August Eckler. He was the person who classified kingdom plantae into two main categories. One is cryptogams and second is phanerogams. Scientifically, they are called as cryptogame and phanerogame, but for our study, we call it as cryptogams and phanerogams. Gams are nothing but gametes, which indicates reproductive system. Now, what are cryptogams and what are phanerogams, that we learn in the further part of the chapter. Okay. So now there is an introduction to scientists. That is, in the year 1883, Eckler, who was a botanist, he classified kingdom plantae into two sub-kingdoms. Sub-kingdoms are just below kingdoms. That is cryptogams and phanerogams. In present day classification of plant also, cryptogams and phanerogams are considered as the two main sub-kingdoms for classification of plants. Now, we will study cryptogams and phanerogams in much detail. Okay. Now see, here there is a flow chart. Now try to learn and understand this flow chart right away here itself, because if this classification is clear in your mind, the further flow of the chapter will be very simple for you. Now this is the classification of kingdom plantae. Kingdom plantae is divided into two subkingdoms. One is cryptogam and second is phanerogams. Cryptogams is divided into three divisions. First division is algae, which we also call it as Thallophyta. Second is division Bryophyta, and third is division Pteridophyta. P is silent here. So cryptogams are divided into three divisions: algae, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. Phanerogams are divided in two divisions. One is gymnosperms and second is angiosperms. Angiosperms have seeds covered with natural covering, that is fruit. So angiosperms are further divided into two classes. First one is dicot, whose seed contains two cotyledons, and second one is monocot. Seed contains a single cotyledon. Okay. So now we will learn each and every division in detail. In this chapter, we are going to learn about all the divisions that are right now mentioned on this slide. Okay. So first, we'll start with subkingdom cryptogams and we will move towards the very first division. Before that, observe this thing. Can you all see a pond on my screen? Now the water in this pond has been stagnant for many days, because of which you all can see green layers that are floating on the surface of pond. So observe them. Search for a pond with greenish water. Greenish water means water is not green in color. Basically, there are green fibrous uh, things or rather plants which are floating on the surface of water. They are saying that collect some of these green fibers in water, put those fibers on a petri dish, that is a porcelain or a glass dish in your laboratory, and wash them with clean water, and then pick up some fibers, at least one of the fibers, put a drop of water on the slide and prepare a slide by placing a cover slip. There is a special technique of observing slides under a microscope, and follow the procedures accordingly and observe the slide under microscope. You all will observe something like this. This is a greenish color fibrous plant which is called as Pyrogyra, and they belong to division of algae. That is our first division, which is division Thallophyta. So let us learn more about division Thallophyta. Now organisms or plants which are classified under kingdom Thallophyta grow mainly in water. In very rare exceptions, algae grow on terrestrial surfaces, but majority times algae are generally grown in water. So these plants grow mainly in water. Now these plants are unicellular generally, and they are very small in size. So they do not have any specific parts such as root, stem, leaf, flower, fruit, etc. Okay, so they are very simpler kind of fibrous plants. Then why are they classified under kingdom Plantae? Because they are autotrophic. Now kingdom Plantae does not have any such rule or restriction that if there are no plant organelles present, then that particular living organism cannot be classified under kingdom Plantae. So because it is autotrophic, it can be classified under kingdom Plantae, and it is autotrophic because algae contains chlorophyll. That is the reason why they are green in color. Okay. Now algae also show a great diversity. Now, algae can be unicellular, it can be multicellular, it can be multicellular but very small in size, which we called it as microscopic, or it can be large enough to be viewed with our help of normal vision. That is, our normal eyes, we can view algae. Some algae are that large. So, algae has a variety of types. They can be unicellular, multicellular, microscopic, large, depending upon their type. Now, algae which grow mainly in water, they can grow in both the types of water, that is fresh water and saline water. Fresh water is the water that we find in rivers, ponds, etc. And saline water is the sea water or the ocean water. Even there algae can grow. Generally on the rocks that are present on the seabed, you all can find a lot of algae growing. They prove to be a food for many aquatic fishes which are small in size. Okay. Now, generally, algae has a soft and fiber-like body. Fiber-like body means the body is in the form of fibers, threads, like this. Okay. And it is very soft, it is very flexible, movable. Now, various types of fungi. Even though being a fungi, like yeast. Yeast is a unicellular fungus that is generally mixed with the batter of idli, dosa, dhokla, etc., which helps in fermentation of the given batter, and generally we keep it for natural fermentation, but few people add yeast is generally available in any bakery or any general store. Just you have to tell that vendor to give you active dry yeast or the variety of yeast that you want. It is easily commercially available, so you can buy it in any general store. So even such kind of fungi and molds are nothing but the green color plants that grow on stale bread, stale chapati, or sometime on pickles, etc. Even if they do not have chlorophyll, even as an exception, they are also included in the group of Thallophyta. So these are the characteristics of kingdom Thallophyta that you all are required to remember. Now I'll show you all some example of Thallophyta. One is Pyrogyra, second is Alva, third is Cara, fourth is Sargassum, fifth is this. I have just shown a random algae on the pond. These are the main examples that you all have to remember: Spirogyra, Alva, Cara, and Sargassum. In this, you all have to practice the diagram of Spirogyra as it can be asked to be drawn. It's a textual question. Okay. Now we move to next division. Before that, observe the following. Now observe and discuss. Now, as you all know that rainy season is going on, and many a times in rainy season we find that bare walls which are not plastered or neither painted or something like that. On those walls, you all can see such green carpet of small plantlets which cover the entire wall during the rainy season. And in summer and winter season, they dry off and they go away. And again, in next rainy season, some new small green plantlets germinate on these walls. Now, you all must have seen many a time such lush green soft carpet of plantlets on old walls, unplastered walls, on the bricks of the walls, on some rocks in rainy season. Now they have said that scrape it out gently, softly with the help of a small ruler or a blade, but generally do not try using blade as you all might hurt yourself. So with the help of a ruler, you all can scrape that off gently and you all can observe it under a magnifying glass and you all can discuss about it. Now, if we discuss about this, these plants come under the second division that we are going to study, that is division Bryophyta. Okay. Now, we'll study the characteristics of division Bryophyta. Okay. Let us move to division Bryophyta. Now, Bryophyta division of cryptogams is generally called as the amphibians of plant kingdom. Okay. Now, amphibians are which organisms? The organisms that can live both on land as well as in water. That is, they can survive in terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems both. Now, they are called as the amphibians of plant kingdom because the reason is they require a moist soil for their growth. That is, they require soil or any kind of moist surface which has some amount of moisture on it, like some water droplets, but in order to reproduce themselves, they require water. So for reproduction, they require water, but for growth, they require moist soil. So as it requires water and soil both, they are called as the amphibians of plant kingdom. Okay. Now these animals are generally thalloid. They are multicellular and autotrophic. They they are not unicellular. They have many number of cells, and as said earlier, autotrophics, the organisms that prepare the food on their own self. Now, generally, organisms of kingdom Bryophyta reproduces by spore formation. Now, remember, cryptogams generally do not have seeds. Generally, what they are classified in cryptogams because they do not have seeds. So, the reproduction is done with the help of spores that are formed by these plants. So, reproduction is done in Bryophyta with the help of spore formation. Spores are so small that they cannot be visible with our normal vision. Now, generally, the body of Bryophyta is flat. It is ribbon-like. It is not fibrous. Okay, it is ribbon-like. Just there is a satin ribbon. Similar to that, their body is. It is flat and more in length and breadth. Okay. It is generally long structure. They do not contain true roots also. They do not even contain a true stem. Now there is no true root and true stem means there are some organs which look like root and stem, but they are not exactly root and stem and they do not do the functions of root and stem. Even leaves also. So generally they do not have true root, stem and leaf, but they do have structure which resemble to root, stem and leaf. That we'll see in the further diagrams also. Now, they have stem-like parts, leaf-like parts, and root-like parts which are called as rhizoids. Now, what are rhizoids? I'll show you with the help of a figure. Now, see, these are rhizoids. Okay. So, in bryophyta, generally, you all can find some small root-like fibrous structure which are developing on the margin of leaf or on the posterior surface of the leaf sometimes. So, that can be observed in kingdom division bryophyta, not kingdom, it is division. Okay. Now they do not have any specific tissue that can help them for conduction of water and food. So xylem and phloem is basically absent in this kind of organisms. Okay. Now examples of bryophyta are Spirogyra. Sorry, it's not Spirogyra. It is extremely sorry. This is a Funaria plant, or what we call as moss. You all must have studied about moss in the lower standards. This is moss or Funaria. Then we have Alva. Sorry, this is not Alva. This is again extremely sorry. There was a problem in animation. Uh, this particular plant is called as Marchantia. So you can refer the names that I'm giving you all above. Now this plant is also not Cara. This plant is Anthroceros. And the fourth one, this plant is not Sargassum as well. It is called as Riccia. Riccia. Okay. So these are the examples of bryophyta. Now let us move ahead. Now again observe and discuss. Many a times we must have heard, or rather we must have seen, some plants or a group of plants which are referred as ferns. They are also called as the ornamental plants in a garden. Now, because these plants require very less water and they grow even in extreme conditions, they are generally kept in big offices, hotels, restaurants. Few people who belong to the elite class of society or who have a very good house, they usually use such kind of plants for decoration because they do not shred their leaf and they generally look very beautiful in appearance. So they are also called as ornamental plants. They are used for beautification of your houses or gardens. So they are saying that take a leaf of a fully grown fern plant and observe it carefully. I'll show you a diagram of fern in my further slides. As of now, we'll move further. This ferns come under the third division of cryptogams, that is division 3, Pteridophyta. Now, Pteridophyta are much developed as compared to algae and bryophyta. Now, they have well developed roots. So, they do not have root like part or something like that. They have well developed root system. They also have a good stem and they also have leaves on them. So all the parts are present and functional in that way. Now they contain separate tissues for conduction of food and water. That means they have xylem and phloem separate in one single plant, which helps in conduction of food and water. These plants do not bear flowers or fruits. Even though they are completely developed in other aspects, they do not bear flowers and fruits. They just have root, stem and leaf generally. Okay. So no flowers and fruits are found on such plants. Now these plants also under a part of cryptogam, they reproduces with the help of spores that are present on the back side or on the posterior end of the leaf. Now, generally, in suppose such a kind of leaf of Pteridophyta, you all can find spore on the back side. These spores are formed under a cluster on leaves. Generally, they are brown color spores on a green leaf. Now, these plants reproduce in both the types. They produce asexually and sexually also. Asexually, reproduction is done in by spore formation, whereas sexually it is done in with zygote formation. But zygote formation is observed very rarely in Pteridophyta. General reproduction in this division is done with the help of spore formation on the posterior or back surface of the leaves. Brown color spots appear on that, which is nothing but a sporangia which contains many spores in them. In sufficient and favorable condition, these sporangia burst and the spores come out and they get dispersed with the help of wind, water, or wherever the location of plant is. Now they also have a well developed conducting system. They have a very good and functional xylem and phloem. Conduction of water and food takes place right from the tip of the root till the uppermost part of the plant. These are the characteristics of Pteridophyta. Now, examples of Pteridophyta is Nephrolepis. Nephrolepis in general terms is called as fern. You all can see how the leaves are. There is one straight midvein and all small leaves in more than 20 to 30 on each side are located on one single leaf. Okay. So this is called as fern or Nephrolepis. Next is Marsalia. This is Pteris, Adiantum, Equisetum, Seligonella, and Lycopodium. These all are examples of Pteridophytas. Now here we have learnt about all the three divisions of cryptogams, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta. Now there is a small short research work for y'all which I am giving to y'all. That is a use your brain power question. That now we have learned that how Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta are different from each other. Now there are certain similarities also between all the three groups. So now your work is to find out the similarities between plants of group Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta irrespective of the various differences between them. Now one similarity that I'll give you is all the three of them, that is Thallophyta, Bryophyta and Pteridophyta, shows asexual kind of reproduction with the help of spores. They do not bear seeds for reproduction. So this is one similarity. Similarly, you all can search out for some more similarity between these divisions. Okay. So here we end up with this module. So in my next lecture, we'll come up with the next topic, that is subkingdom phanerogams. So thank you for today.